What's up, everyone? It's been a minute since I've done a YouTube video. It's been like 6 months. I figured it's time that I do an update video, just talk about some stuff that's going on, anything that's changed in the last 6 months or so, and just kind of briefly update you guys on everything. So in September, I competed in Raw Nationals, my first open Raw Nationals, and I placed third in the 82.5 kilo weight class. That was obviously not what I was hoping for on the day. It was a really tough competition. Obviously, I was competing against some really high-level guys, and that's kind of how it turned out. Mistakes were made, and obviously it's cliche to say, but every opportunity to compete is an opportunity to learn, it's an opportunity to get better. I always pick up something new. I always learn something new about myself, and yeah, on to the next one. So I'm gonna be putting up the videos so you guys can get an idea of what I hit on the day. But yeah, so I competed at Raw Nationals in September, came back home, had kind of a funky 6 weeks of training, a couple weeks that were kind of weird just because of travel, and then I had one of my wisdom teeth taken out, so didn't train a whole lot for the first couple weeks, and then pretty much got back into relatively normal training. Had kind of a funky block or two there, and then things started to roll and started to pick up steam again. So now that the Raw Nationals talk is pretty much over, I want to briefly mention one thing, but I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail about it because I don't think it's important, but I am working with a new coach now. Unfortunately, did not work out with my previous coach, but fortunately I am now working with Marcellus Williams. A lot of you probably know him as the Swolfessor, and things have been going really well. Hasn't been a whole lot of time I've been working with him. But just in the brief time that we have been working together, it really seems like things are going really well. He has a system that I've talked to him a lot about, and I'm really learning and kind of exploring that system, and it seems to be working really, really well. Even in that brief time, I can tell that things are feeling a lot better just overall. I previously used to use an 8-week block, so that is pretty long, I would say, compared to what the majority of people are using nowadays. And I basically would start at this kind of low point and just work my way up incrementally throughout the block for 8 weeks up to this really, really heavy end of the block, where I would usually hit like some sort of PR or some really heavy lifts. So now I'm working with Marcellus. We've shortened that block down to 4 weeks, which is pretty different from the 8-week block that I'm used to. But it seems to be working. Taking slightly bigger jumps week to week, and I'm able to kind of have a heavier exposure a little bit more often, since I'm going to be working into something relatively heavy every 4 weeks instead of every 8 weeks. So yeah, that seems to be going really well, and I'm really happy. I can feel the difference right away. Like just in that short time, I feel like my body is just more prepared and more primed, more often, rather than having this really, really high peak and then this really, really low valley of strength and performance. So things are going really well. I am going to be talking more in depth about my training in a future video. The next few weeks I'm going to be recording a whole week of training, so everything I do, I'll try to include at least like one set of every exercise that I would normally do, and I'll talk about my rationale and my the reasoning for everything that I do and kind of why it works for me and why it makes sense for me. So I'll go into a lot of detail about all that stuff in that future video. I just wanted to give a brief update as to like how the structure of training now, how things are going. And now that I'm working with Marcellus, he has this system that he uses that seems to work for pretty much all of his clients, and it seems to be working for me, so I'm very happy about that. So I also want to talk about the end of last block. So a couple weeks ago, it was really the last really heavy block, I guess, before my next competition, which I'll be talking about later in the video. But I ended up hitting an 820 kilo day, which I've done once before in a meet and once in training. I did miss the last deadlift. I'll post the videos here so you guys can see kind of how that day went. but hit a small squat PR and hit a small bench PR, which the bench I'm very happy with. I definitely could have paused that a little bit better, but overall I think strength is really, really high, especially on bench. And deadlift was feeling pretty good up until the day. My technique was a little bit wonky, and there's definitely some technical stuff that I got to work on, especially at that upper end. But overall, strength feels really, really high, and performance feels really high. And like I said, it's been a very short period of time that I've been working with Marcellus, but the changes that he's implemented seem to be working right away. So I'm really excited for what the next, however many weeks until my meet. Really excited to see what they look like and kind of what I can do in training. All right, so with all of that stuff out of the way, I will be talking about my next goal, my next meet, the next thing that's coming around. So I am going to be switching to Powerlifting America. I'm going to be doing Powerlifting America Nationals, which is in March in Reno, Nevada. That's my next thing. So as of making this video, I believe I'm 10 weeks out, something like that. So yeah, that's the thing. Competing at 83. And the goal is to make it to Worlds. So I know that if you win PA Nationals, you qualify to go to Worlds. And I think there's a chance if you get second, you can also be a second person to represent the US at Worlds. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like this year, if they're even going to do that, but that's basically the goal. I don't care that much how I perform at Nationals. The goal is just to get to Worlds. So if it's whether I win and go to Worlds or get second and go to Worlds, that's really what I want to do. So yeah, that's my goal for this year. And my motivation behind that is that I just feel like IPF really seems to have, the IPF side of things really seems to be blowing up. Things seem to be going really well for them. Obviously with with Sheffield, with the World Games. All that kind of stuff is motivating me to go towards that side rather than stick with USAPL. I pretty much only ever competed in USAPL, and I love USAPL, but it just seems like the IPF is putting out a better product right now, and I want to call myself a world champion. That's always been a goal of mine since I started powerlifting. In the very beginning, it's always been, win nationals, but really the ultimate goal has always been to become a world champion, right? And so right now, the only avenue for me to be able to become a world champion is to go to PLA Nationals, win, or get second potentially, and be able to go to Worlds and compete at Worlds, right? And so that's the big thing for me. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of heavy opposition. I have a lot of guys in my weight class that are very, very good, very competitive. So it's definitely not going to be easy. I got to bring my best, and so that's what I'm planning to do. So that's basically it. That's all I really want to talk about. Just want to give a brief update as to how training's going, what my plans are for the future, and just to briefly mention about the video that's going to be coming out in a couple weeks, where I am going to be going through a whole week of training. I think that's going to be pretty cool, because it'll give you guys an idea of like what I do in a typical week of training. And kind of really go in depth as like why I do everything and why I've figured out that each particular thing works for me. Yep, so that's basically it. I just wanted to update you guys on all those things. Thank you for watching if you made it to the end of the video. I am taking on clients currently. I haven't really gotten to the point where I feel like I'm full or fully capped. But if you're interested in coaching, go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram at Chris Perez PL. Or you can check out the website, Chris Perez Training, so you can get more info. All right, see you guys.